It's a pretty anxiety-producing thing to be a human being on this planet, right? Every day you got to figure out, what am I doing today, and what's it all about, and who am I? And a lot of that really comes down to your thinking, right? What are you saying to yourself every day? So we're going to focus in on the interesting connection between our thoughts and our inner talk, and how we can really take more control over how we talk to ourselves and how we shape our world through talking to ourselves. And this is really a practice in consciousness. This isn't presented as a meditation workshop, but it really is a practice of awareness and consciousness, and how to raise your consciousness, how to evolve your consciousness and develop yourself. And inner talk is one of the most direct routes to doing that I've found in my studies, because it really gets to the root of our thinking. It really gets to the very root of our consciousness. So look forward to sharing that with you tonight. And there's a real connection between anxiety and our mood states and our inner talk. The way we talk to ourselves affects us physically, it affects us emotionally, mentally. It has a big effect on our health over the course of the years. So inner talk is a very powerful tool that we can learn to use more consciously. Most of our inner talk is really unconscious. We're not even aware of what we're saying to ourselves. So over the weekend, I hope that you will use this as a kind of a meditation retreat for yourself, and really pay more attention to your inner talk. That's really the first step, is just listening in and saying, what am I saying to myself right now? Like, you've probably had some inner talk about this workshop, right? What's your inner talk about this workshop? It's called Change Your Inner Talk, Change Your Life. Are you really expecting to change your life this weekend? Or just a little part of your life? What do you want to do? There is the option here of actually changing some very deep ways that you experience your life. We're going to focus kind of on two different levels. One level is focusing in on a specific thing that you want to change in your life, something that's been maybe bothering you, that's troubling you, that you're curious about, a problem that you're experiencing, or a goal that you'd like to achieve that you haven't yet. So we're going to focus in on that, but we're also going to focus in on a deeper level, which is your level of consciousness. In other words, how are you experiencing life in general? What sort of universe do you live in? Because we all create the universe that we live in with our thoughts. And that's going to become a little bit more apparent as we go through the weekend. You can begin to see that you actually are creating your reality with your inner talk. And in fact, that's what we human beings have been doing for many tens of thousands of years on this planet. Been changing the planet with our inner talk. And if you look around at the world today and see what we're doing to the planet, that's also a result of our inner talk, our collective inner talk. So we're going to be connecting the personal and the planetary this weekend as well, because everything that we experience as individuals is part of a larger story of human beings on this planet, the species that we're a part of. And a lot of our inner talk seems to be pretty self-destructive. Often individually, we do things that aren't in our own best interest. We have what we call toxic voices that get in our way and sabotage us. Seems like as human beings, we're doing the same thing to the planet. We have a lot of strange inner talk that leads to plundering the planet that we live on and making it as unlivable as possible for future generations. So that's an inner talk problem too. So inner talk really has to do with our very way of thinking. And it's changed a lot over the past 5,000 or 6,000 years on this planet. Maybe Sunday morning when we talk a little bit more about the sort of cultural aspects of inner talk, we'll get into that. But mostly we're going to focus in on you and your goals for this weekend, and what you want to get out of the weekend. So I'd like you to begin to start thinking about that specific thing that you want to change in your life, that specific something that you'd like to really make a difference with this weekend. And tonight we'll introduce you to some of the ideas. Tomorrow morning we're going to go more in-depth into looking at the voices very specifically and how they operate in our life, how they often masquerade and disguise themselves as other voices to really confuse us. Because if you ever started to pay attention to your inner talk, you realize it's not so simple inside, right? There's lots of different voices vying for your attention, often saying contradictory things. So I found that inner talk is a very fascinating path to follow, because it's really led me deeper into myself and deeper into who I really am. And that's what this is really all about, is discovering your true self, because so much of who we are is really buried under deep layers of social conditioning that happened in our early years in our family, that happened through schooling, through the media messages that we get from our culture. So, you know, the strange thing is that a lot of what we think of as our thinking or our thoughts really aren't ours. They belong to somebody else. And sometimes it's a good idea to give them back to whoever gave them to you if they're not working for you too well. So I found that my inner talk has led me very deep into my own healing from my own childhood wounds and helping me to realize my full potential in the world. But it's also helped me to go deeper into looking at my culture and the cultural talk that's all around me. Because not everything just comes from our families or our immediate background. So much of it really comes from the whole culture that we're a part of and the assumptions that are there in our culture. So there's really nothing more radical than taking a look at your inner talk. It may really change the way you think about things. And as human beings, we really are conscious beings. That's sort of our hallmark, right? Our defining characteristic. We think of ourselves as conscious compared to other creatures that aren't conscious. But I'm not so sure that's true. I think all forms of life have a certain kind of consciousness. We just happen to have a human kind of consciousness. And our human consciousness really is defined by language, right? That's really what has made us human in the sense that we understand ourselves today. So our use of language really is crucial to who we are. It's a very powerful tool. It's the software that runs our lives, and it's the software that runs our culture. So by taking a look at that, we have a lot of power to reprogram things that aren't working in our lives and to come to inner talk that's much truer, more loving, and more life-giving.